In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you again, that once again we can continue to ask the Lord to bless us, especially during this meeting. When I was called to do this presentation, I have to admit that I turned it down because I was recovering from what? Stroke. And then it took some time, about a month later. The way that I felt when the Lord was leading me, the way I was recovering, I said, I have a story to tell. And therefore, I called back to Benji and I asked him, have you had any other stop, somebody to take that place you wanted me to take? He said, no. Then I said, what about if I fit in what I want to say? Like, this is my situation. I had a stroke. He said, yes, they will be wonderful. They will be very ready to listen to you. And so we agreed. And so I decided to do it. And not only that, I said, just because people have been primed with the program that we were going to do breast cancer, maybe it will also do if we can also add breast cancer part, if time will permit. So this morning, actually, I was prepared for strokes and also breast cancer, but I don't think we'll be able to go through breast cancer. So forgive me that we have to deal only with stroke. And to begin with, that is my word there. And I would like to quote Psalm 116. What shall I render to the Lord for all his benefits toward me? Amen. You know, way back in high school, and in sixth form, I happened to be with a gentleman, a real gentleman, who unfortunately has passed away. His name was Mr. Ejaku. If you remember, Mr. Ejaku passed away. He was an MP. He was an MP and he died. He was on top of me in sixth form. We were sleeping together. I was on the bottom, he was on the top. And that was Tom. We used to call him Tom. And that was always his scripture. What shall I render unto the Lord for all his benefits towards me? Can you also say with me with Job, do I merit the Lord's mercy that I should be living today? Because I can tell you today that I should be a vegetable. I should be a vegetable because on January 28th, on that fateful day, the records indicate that I became a patient. 25th December is my birthday, but as you know, for those of us who didn't come from the good backgrounds that we have, what is coconut to a monkey? The children have called, and they usually do. I don't want them to come, but they come. On December 25th, which is my birthday, they all will come to our place, and you have fun. But this time they called me and said, no, we have another cousin who has just moved to Regina, he bought a new house, so why can't we all go there and see him and his wife? And then I said, okay, you have to listen to the children, you know, this is Canada. So we are December 25, we went to church. It was Saturday. We went to church, and then after church, we came home. Waited for the Sabbath, and then late, very late in the night, we drove to Saskatoon. I drove myself. My wife and I drove to Saskatoon. So we stayed in Saskatoon with all the three have come. I have three kids. One is in Australia now, two of them in Saskatoon. The one in Australia has come. So we all were together on the 25th. Then the next day, 26th, my daughter drove to Saskatoon. So on the 26th, I was having some mild headache and then a neck pain. Mild headache and a neck pain. In the evening, while they were jumping, I just sit in the chair and look at them. And then I asked for Tylenol, another 2 tablets, and I took it. And it helped me, it went away. The next day was fine. My daughter drove again to Saskatoon. So when we arrived in Saskatoon, we wanted to go back because we are staying in Maidstone and they are staying in the city. Anyway. So I wanted to go back, and then my wife said, anyway, some is in Australia, Aston and George are here, and so let's stay with them a little while. So I agreed, I gave in, and so we stayed. The next day was 27th. I spent the day, they would take me to hospital, they would take me to everywhere, they did a few things. And I remember I filled my car in Costco. It was Costco as a cheap fuel. So I filled my car that you go back on the 28th. So on the 28th, the same thing, we were doing things around. And then in the evening, we wanted to watch something on the TV, and I didn't want to watch it. I said, I'm going to sleep. But that time, I was having a mild day. And so this day, what I'm going to do is, whatever presentation I'm going to do is going to be personalized. It's me, I am the patient, and you will look at our background. You are brought up as Ghanaians. Unfortunately, if you were not brought up over there in Ghana, just look at what are the things which you can do to help yourself, especially when this situation comes. So here we are. They were watching the thing on the I decided to do is sleep. And before I was sleeping about it, and the neck pain. I have to say that the neck pain was more severe than the frontal headache. So I told them I'm going to sleep. So I went to sleep. I lay down in bed for a while, for a long time. I mean, when I'm sleeping, generally it should not take me more than 20 minutes. I lay down for about 30 minutes, no sleep was coming. So I came back there and I felt I want to drink something. So I made some robust tea and I drank and I went back to sleep. Now, when I went back to sleep that the first time, I felt nauseous and I vomited. But actually, with the tea, I didn't add anything, I just drank the raw tea. So I vomited. So, anyway, I don't think my wife even saw it. So I went back that I can sleep my headache away. So I went back to sleep. Then when I went back to sleep, then I started feeling some dizziness. I started seeing some dizziness. Oh, let me close my eyes and sleep. So I tried to close my eyes and sleep. observed that even closing up my eyes, I could see the dizziness. What is happening to me? So I said, anyway, I think I will sleep. Then all of a sudden, I saw the dizziness getting even worse. Now I could see the whole building. Could see the whole building just moving. The whole building moving. I have not seen that before. So I went down, and then all of a sudden, the bed I was lying on, I could see the bed is tumbled over. So I decided to come down the bed and kneel down and put my head down there and sleep. Then I see that the whole floor, and I was being lifted up, and I found myself on the side of the bed. So I tried to get up. I could not get up. Wait, what's happening to me? The left side is like an elephant sitting on one half of my body, from the face right down. I couldn't move the left leg. I couldn't move the right arm. I tried to call for help. I cannot talk. Something wrong. As I was struggling, then my wife came to the room. And I think the next thing I will ask her what she did to me after that.
Good morning, church. Actually, I didn't want to say this because I said to him, would you like me to cry? Because every time it's very personal. Anyway, that was early morning, 28.
2 a.m.
2 a.m. It was Wednesday. And but I was good enough. I was not asleep, and I was in our son's study room. And I said, oh, it's 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. and it's time. I was preparing for the next Sabbath for Lloydminster. And I said, it's time to go to bed. So I opened before that, I could hear George going in and out of the washroom. So I could hear flushing the toilet. So at least I know that. And then when I opened the door, I didn't even open the light, but I couldn't see him on the bed. But I could hear this really bad breathing. It's like that on the side. So I said, oh, this is not a good sign. And I switched on the light and I saw him lying on the side of the bed with the head on the wall. And I could see him with his droopy face and he's trying to lift his arm. And then immediately I ran to him and I checked his pulses. And it was good. It was full. By the way, I'm an anesthesiologist by profession. So I checked him, and then his breathing was good. And at one time, he was choking like that. And so I hit him at the back. It's time to hit him. Anyway, I hit him in the back like twice. And then this sticky saliva came out. And then I said to him, immediately I called our daughter, Astrid, call 911 and tell them your dad is having a stroke. Because this is a sign of a stroke. You know, you remember FAST, F-A-S-T, your face. If it's droopy, that's one of the signs. A is for arm. You actually tell the patient, lift your arm. If they can't lift even one, it's one of the signs. And it's speech. If the patient is having a slurred speech or jumbled speech. And then time is of the essence. Time is very important. You call 911 immediately because from the first symptom to the patient going to the ER is very crucial. It's like within 3 to 4 hours. So anyway, I called Astrid to call 911, tell them that your dad is having a stroke. And then immediately he said, "What's happening to Dad?" And I said, "Astrid, no crying. No crying, just call them." But I know it's very emotional, right? If it's your dad or it's your husband. And so before that, and then after that, I said to George, "Dad, we're gonna pray. We're going to pray." So I don't know if you remember, but we started praying, and the 911 came, the ambulance came, and when they came, two of the ladies who came saw that George was on the heavier side. Two female paramedics came, and so they called fire services. So 4 men came. At that time, it was really snowing. So our front yard was full of snow. So 2 of them started shoveling, and the other 2 came to the room with a hammock to lift him up. So when they came, and before that even, the 2 paramedics already alerted RUH, Royal University Hospital in Saskatoon, that we have a patient here who had a stroke. So she already alerted the stroke team to be ready. And so when this fire services came, I told them, "Okay, we'll lift the patient up in a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. So we lift him up to the bed and immediately to the ambulance. So it was a lot of prayer, and you can imagine a very bad stroke, and you see the complications. That's what's going to happen. So when we went there, the doctors, they were already there waiting for us, and immediately to CT scan. And I think George will do awesome. Is it true? Okay, we will do the rest.
Thank you. And so it's important that we have to know what to do. Because first, stroke, we are dealing with time. We are dealing with time. There is no daily dialing. We have this herbalist here, we're going to get in here. You are wasting time. Let me tell you about, that's why I said we have to personalize it. I have a grandfather who died when I was in secondary school. He was a farmer in Kintampo, and he had this stroke. When he had stroke, instead of rushing him to hospital, they didn't. They passed Kintampo all the way past Kumasi and came down to our town, which is in Bekwai, before they send him back to Confanachi Hospital. The golden period of 4 hours has already expired. Yes, my grandfather became a vegetable. He lived for about 10 years. Complete vegetable. And so the same thing I want you to learn today, time is of the essence when it comes to stroke. How quickly you can get the person to the hospital should be emphasized. Because number one, if you get him to the hospital, you must call the hospital. They have a stroke team, and they will get them immediately assembled, and immediately the treatment was start. In my case, immediately they took me from the ambulance to the Royal University Hospital. They didn't even take me to the emergency room. That is usually where they usually treat patients. They took me straight to the CT scan. Straight to CT scan, and that time, I have to also tell you, my blood pressure was shooting up. I was around 190. I was around 90. And at that time, I feel like peeing. And then actually, when he came to the room, I stretched my right hand, "Please bring me up, I can't talk." Because I wanted to go to the washroom. I couldn't talk. So when they took me down to the CT scan, they did a CT scan. As I was talking, the neurosurgeon was there, the neurologist was there, and then the emergency doctor was also there. So immediately after the CT scan, I could hear everything going on, only that I cannot speak. They were asking me, where is your pain? I was telling them I have a headache and a neck pain, but nothing could come out from me. I can't talk. I was saying, that's all I can make. And after the CT scan, I heard the neurologist, and actually he put it on the screen and I saw it. Hey, we are sitting on a bad stroke. Let's give him a chance. So he talked to my wife, he talked to my son, who's also a medical student now. We're hoping he can finish by December. We need consent. Immediately, we have to take him to the theater now. We have to give him a chance. And I heard everything he was explaining to them. It's a 50-50 chance. We are going to do a thrombolectomy. Thrombolectomy is not a big word. We tried as much as possible, so we make it simple. Thrombolectomy, thrombus is a blood clot. Ectomy in medicine means taking out. So we're going to take the thrombus out, thrombolectomy. So we're going to pass a wire and the image intensifier, they can see it on the screen, they pass it through the big vein here, a big artery here, and it goes down, they can see it in the screen, in the image intensifier, and then go down there. This stroke was in the base of the brain, in an artery. They call it basilar artery. So they will pass this wire down there to the basilar artery, and when they get to the artery, they have to pass it a little bit. And by technology, when they pass that wire, they can also inflate it and it makes something like an umbrella at the end. So if they make the umbrella and the air comes, hopefully that is why it says a 50-50 chance. Hoping that they did not dislodge the thrombus. If the blood clot is dislodged, that is another trouble. If the thrombus gets dislodged, it means what? It's going higher in the brain and going to the smaller arteries, and that is a big trouble. So they did. They went in, and the Lord is so good. They were able, after 3 hours, they were able to bring the thrombus, take care of the thrombus. So after 3 hours, that was around 6 a.m., then I opened my eyes because I was under anesthesia. The first thing I noted was the neck pain was gone. The headache was gone. Then the first nurse came and spoke to me. And this nurse, actually, I was working in their same place, in Hudson. One, because way back in Hudson Bay where I was working, I had to transfer several patients with suspected stroke. We will come to it, what we call TIA, ischemic, transient ischemic attack, TIA, transient ischemic attack. This is a stroke, but it is transient. And that is what some people will manifest when they have it. So if you have somebody in the house, let's personalize it. He complains of he cannot talk. That is one sign. He needs immediately to be seen. If somebody complains of having a visual problem, either in the eye, in one eye, or both, he has to be seen immediately. And when somebody cannot lift one arm or one leg, or if you see the face skewed, or Super Odi will say, taxi driver or sugar, somebody who the face is twisted like that, you have to immediately send him to the emergency room. In fact, talk to them, and immediately they will send the right people to come. I remember when he tried to call the emergency department. Astrid, my daughter, was the one who called. And then he told them, my dad is having a stroke. And then the 911. And then the operator there was asking. Usually they will ask series of questions from you. They said, can you ask the person to say you can't teach an old dog, you cannot teach an old dog new tricks? And my daughter was, baffled. So the mom had to come and take the phone from her and say, hey, we are sitting. My husband is a physician and he is having a stroke. Then they kept quiet. They said, we are sending a team immediately. So they quickly send the team. So you have to insist on it, because sometimes you would think they are doing, but they want to make sure that it's a stroke. And they also, once they are sending the ambulance, they immediately assemble the stroke team. Because when I arrived at the CT scan, the neurologist was there, the neurosurgeon was there. And so the treatment started. And so after my thrombolectomy or removal of the thrombus or the blood clot, what happened? I was normal. Now my blood pressure, as I said, has gone up to 190. And that one they have given me also blood pressure medication to bring it down. Now there is also a very important medication. They call it TPA, which is very, very important and very expensive. It has to be given within 4 hours. That is why you have to get the person to the emergency services in less than no time. So they have given me this TPA. They have given me a very strong medication to bring my blood pressure down. And after that, all they did was monitor my blood pressure. They monitor my blood pressure and my neurologic signs. That means they will look at your eyes, they will let you blow your cheek, they will make you smile to see if the face is still skewed, raise your leg, and all those things. And so the next day, they also went me through MRI to check my heart and also do a lot of blood exams. And they noted that I have after the 24-hour monitoring, they had at some time of the day, I had what you call atrial fibrillation. Now, atrial fibrillation is a heart which is vibrating too fast. And when you have this continuously for some time, you can dislodge and throw a blood clot or thrombus up into your brain. And so here, this is how, by God's grace, I landed myself. They monitored me for 24 hours, and I called home, please bring me clothes so that when they discharge me, I can go. They said, what are you talking about? You are coming home? I said, yes, bring me my clothes. So when they came with my clothes the next morning, then I spoke with my neurosurgeon, and he said, yes, George, this is your situation. We found out that you had a block in your basilar artery with a big thrombus. But we were very, very, very fortunate. We were able to get it out. And that is where I told him, thank you very much, and God bless you. Amen. So here we are. There are so many things that brought me into this situation. First of all, I have to tell you, stroke can happen to anybody at any time, even including what? Neonates in the nursery room. Many neonates have had stroke. So it comes all over. But when you grow old like me, is it not interesting? Now we can also call ourselves old. I remember Pastor Amoa's grandfather. I don't know how many who know Pastor Amoa. Pastor Amoa, when we were in high school, he was the president of the Ghana Conference of 7th Adventists. That was the first conference. And I remember him very well. And the last story he told us about when he came to preach in Bekwai. He said one time he came to US and they wanted him to stay more. He said, no. You know, Pastor Amor has a very small, shrill voice. He said, no, I want to go back to my Africa. We have the righteous son. I remember very well. There are so many things we have to now look at it. If we go into my background, we're going to examine why I went into it. But first, let's review the whole situation with stroke. Can I get it going? Okay, I got it. Thank you. So by definition, it's very simple. Any blockage to the blood supply to a part or parts of the brain, or when a blood vessel to the brain ruptures. So blood supply to the brain, that is blocked. Now what happens is that every cell in the body, as we know, need what? Nutrition. The food that we eating and everything, they also have to get their share. So if they are blocked, any part of the blood vessel which is blocked is shut off from what? Blood supply, so they can't get their nutrition. And so it results in stroke. Now, as human, we have two kinds, thrombotic or ischemic. Thrombotic, thrombus, as I mentioned, is what? A clot. And non-thrombotic or hemorrhagic, this one is the one that ruptures. That is also very serious. Now, the thrombotic acid, as we know, is more. We see more of the thrombotic than the ischemic. And this is where we have to take note about it. Now, what are the causes? As I mentioned, it can happen to anybody at any time. At any time you can. But it's more seen in old, from the age usually going 60 going up, your chances of stroke will increase. And gender-wise, we see more men getting it than women. And race, the black race is mostly affected. And that is where we're going to dwell a little bit on it. Why are we so prone to strokes? By genetic disposition, you are very prone to it because you are what? You are having a tendency to produce a high blood pressure. It's not a biased one, but each time I have to see any of my patients who is black, I think of blood pressure until proven otherwise. It's important that we know that, and it's important that all of us, I'm going to stress it, that all the time, if you go to any doctor, he doesn't do anything for you at all, not knowing, you have to know your blood pressure. That is important. You have to know it, because blood pressure, that is the only way you can know. Unfortunately, and we see it, if you are in Ghana, this one collapsed and died. He collapsed and died. He could not even reach the hospital. Why? Because of a blood pressure which has triggered something which can cause your death. Because we don't check it. And so one also requirement today for everybody here is, please, in Canada here, it is important you have a family physician. It is important. Because blood pressure also cannot be diagnosed in one day. I cannot just take her blood pressure, 130 over 80. It's fine. No. Our blood pressure actually goes up and down during the whole day. And it's very important. All that Pastor Amwa told, all that Pastor Bonnie told, your stress, and all the quarrels and all the animosities we have against each other, if it's anything you can do for me today, please stop all of them today. Amen. The Bible says what? If your friend offends you, don't let the sun go down. What happened? You keep that in yourself, it's eating you up, and your blood pressure is shooting up. And so it's important that we take it from ourselves today. If there's anything you can do, please, number one, you are blood pressure prone. And therefore, we have to make things more beautiful than we appear to be. Because whatsoever things that are nice, whatsoever things that are honest, whatsoever things that are of good report, these are the things that will elevate our mood. When our mood is nice, your blood pressure go down. You know that? When they say smiling is medicine, that is it. That is it. So we have to take it from us here today. Now, trauma. Trauma is also very important. In fact, it was a very bad year. I've never, from maybe it's when I was small, but when I grew up, I never engaged myself in any fight with anybody that be throwing blows. I mean, when we were small playing football in the mud, we used to do that. But not when I grew up. But last year, I had a traumatic experience. It was the same winter, and I usually clear my driveway myself. Now, from the outside of the driveway, which is asphalt, and this side, which is what? Cement. When you come from the snow on this, it's very, very slippery. So after clearing the snow, I came with my boots, and that boot is very, very, very smooth soles. I found myself wobbling on the floor, and I know I was going to hit my head in the front. I tried, and I found myself hit at the back there, on the floor. Nobody saw me. But I told my wife, I have hit myself so badly. I really felt that is the first time being hit on the head like that. That is what I experienced. So in the evening, I had to take some pain tablet. I took some Tylenol. Please, I also advise, if you can, don't make, if it's not advised, being prescribed, and you don't need it, don't make any medication your friend. Even Tylenol, do you know it can cause you to have a renal failure? Liver. Your liver and your kidney can be brought into a standstill with Tylenol. And so, as much as possible, if you can avoid it, take it when you need it. But please don't keep it, and with a slight headache, you go and take it. What I do is, one thing that we also try that we don't do is we lack hydration most of the time. If you observe it, if you are dehydrated, you will have a headache. That one, if you drink water, it should solve the situation. Try and solve all this. The same thing, you know it, when you have not moved your bowels, you experience headache. Don't go and take Tylenol. Take Tylenol only when it is needed. So many. Recently, I've been reading about in Ghana, a lot of people go into renal failure because of, they cannot even, they won't tell you. But be careful of it because it's been documented. Tylenol or Panadol can cause renal failure. So let's note that very carefully. So in this case, this trauma, I took Tylenol, and this took place 1 week, isn't it? 1 week before the fateful day for the stroke. But after the MRI, they could not document any kind of fracture. But I strongly feel something must have happened in my blood vessels. They didn't document any what we call coarctation. Coarctation of the artery means that the vessel can be divided. They didn't see anything. But I feel that it was contributory. And so it's important, and you will spend more time. The next one will be medical problems, hypertension. I always say we are born with it. Hypertension, we are born with it, and we're going to die with it. And then diabetes. That one needs a lot of mention. Diabetes was not known as far as I was, when they taught us in medical school, when I experienced it in South Africa, diabetes was not known to the blacks staying in South Africa. In South Africa, I worked there for a long time, Kinedwood Hospital with my wife, and it was on the record. That is way back 1993, yes. They said if you go back retrospectively, 10 years before, if somebody comes to the hospital with blood pressure, he's what? White. Blood pressure, I'm sorry. If somebody, we are talking of diabetes. If somebody comes with diabetes, it was what? White or Indian. Colored. The blacks were the last one to get diabetes. That is in South Africa. But during the time when we went there in 1994, it was number one. Before COVID, that was an epidemic of diabetes that is going on. I don't know, for those of us who are old enough, growing up in my environment, I did not see anybody with diabetes. Did you see anybody with a? No. Why? Because of the corporate sugar. When we were going to school in the morning, who is going to make you tea and bread? Do you know tea and bread? No. It was what? If you were very lucky, you get your nice yam, if you're lucky, plantain, cocoyam, with what? Salt. Salt. That is it. You're very lucky. That is a good breakfast for you. Well, sometimes maybe they give you what? Cafe. That time, our time, the slices of the fried plantain, 3 of them will cost you what? A penny. 3 of them will cost you a penny. So if you are lucky enough, they give you 2. Tuppence. You say you don't say 2 penny, you say tuppence. If you have the tuppence, then they will add what? Beans for you. That is what we usually have. But now, what happened? When I go to Ghana, one is complaining. There was a woman who called me. I went to the house. What happened? He has developed gangrene and he has not seen a doctor. He has developed gangrene. He hasn't seen a doctor. Why? Because of diabetes. So we have to be very careful. Why is diabetes so common now? Because it's very common. Oh, the children are crying, oh, we are so tired. KFC, McDonald's, fat burgers. Please, I will advise, as much as possible, eat your plantain, eat your cocoyam, yam, cassava, and the rest, avoid sugar. Avoid sugar. If you have been reading very much, the Prime Minister of Barbados, that's a very wonderful woman. He is very strong in hating Britain and all those people for enslaving the blacks and putting them in their present predicament. Why? Because they brought them to West Indies. What did they cultivate? Sugarcane. Now they say 1 out of 6 is diabetic. And what did they leave them? Nothing. You compensated the slave owner, but not the slave. But what can we do? We have to live with it. Let's protect ourselves. Please watch what you eat. Sugar, if you can avoid, please avoid it. As I said, growing up, there was nothing like a Sichireyadi. Because we were not eating sugar. Sugar, I don't remember it was in our diet in any way. Well, we go to school, if you happen to get half pence, you will talk. I think the common sweet there was black and white. The commonest one was black and white. Then maybe you eat black and white. No, it was not there. Dental caries, no. So please, let's note that very careful. And another one that is very important is heart diseases. Heart diseases, as I said, if you don't have one, please try to have a family doctor. Because at least you need to have an ECG or something to check your heart, whether you have a heart disease or not. There are many people who don't know they have a heart problem until the next time the person collapsed and he's died. It's very common in Ghana. It's very common in Ghana. But as you know, here, when I first went to the place where I was working in Maidstone, there was a doctor there who died, Dr. Marfleet. And he came to me. Dr. Marfleet was at that time 85 years old. And when he died, I attended his funeral. And it was a whole big auditorium which was full. The whole town actually came. And when the priest asked the question, I want all those who were ever treated by Dr. Marfleet or Dr. Marfleet to stand up. Almost the whole of the people got up in the place because he had seen all those people. Some of them he delivered them. Dr. Marfleet used to tell me that time in Canada, he said he used to take the patient in his own car and there was no ambulance and rush them to Saskatoon. And why am I saying that? What I'm saying now is that he knows them. He knows this patient there. He knows all the children and all what he has treated them with. He knows that this one has a heart problem. He is on this ACE inhibitor. He knows that this one is hypertensive. He is on these beta blockers. Or he knows everything. When he sees them, he knows them. And so everybody knows what is wrong with them. And so they know how to. So please have a family physician. It's very important. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't, but it's important. Yes, of course, you want to choose a family physician where you can have a good rapport with somebody who will take interest in knowing what is happening to the family, and it's very important. And so we will go on about the. I talk about TIA, which was transient ischemic attack. Now, many years ago, I was a medical student when I was in Philippines. And I visited a family. They are very good because that is how I managed to stay there. During the holidays, some of my friends will take me home. And we went there. And the grandmother was there. And he had a TIA. The TIA transient, you will get these kind of signs and symptoms. You can't talk, slurred speech. You can have problem with it, sometimes one leg or both. And what happens is that the symptoms will go away. Once somebody's symptoms go away, please don't think that it's over. It will come back again, and this one may result in a complete stroke. Because transient ischemic attack, it means that what the blood clot has maybe a leeway for some blood to go away. It's not complete. But when the blood vessel is blocked completely, the person will get stroke. So if somebody goes with that kind of thing, please immediately get the medical emergency for that person. It's very important. Because I can see many times when I remember that we take so many things for granted. There was a certain time when one of my grandmothers, he was sick. He was talking abnormally. The next time he said, I wanted to go and eat up my grandchild. And they were believing it that it's a dronachin. It's a dronachin. But it was simply what? Anemia. It was anemia. And you know what? The next thing, they will take him to some place and force him and talking all kinds of rubbish. I wanted to kill this one. I wanted to eat him for Christmas. And we believe it. And it goes on and on. And so last year, one of my mothers, when they called me up, they said he started talking by heart. I said, have you forgotten that his mother was accused of being a witch, that they drew at him? Please immediately take him to the hospital and let them check him. And they, yes, when they went, he was anemic. And he was treated. He died about 2 months ago. Unfortunately, I couldn't go because I was still recuperating. So please, let's take it very seriously. Somebody comes with complaining of, I cannot see very well. It's necessary to be checked. Somebody comes that his speech is not coming. He has to be seen. He cannot lift one or both. He has to be seen. Remember, time is essence. And we have an acronym for that. We say FAST. Is it FAST? Yes. FAST. The face, the arm, S, speech, and T, time. Time is of essence. Because we need to get him or her there in less than 4 hours. The next one we have to talk about is what? Risk factors. We did say that it can happen to anybody anytime, but these are some of the most important selling points that we have to take away. Now, our weight is very important, like me. The weight is very important. In fact, I count this as a blessing. That sometime when I was in college, I met one Adventist teacher and a pastor, Dr. Harding. That was in Philippines. That's where I met him, and we made friends. He was also my teacher in public health. And then we started running. He liked to run. I did not like running. And then I joined him and we started running and running. The first 2-3 weeks, 1 month, we did the 10K. And then after another month, we did the 10K. And after 3 months, would you imagine, I did the 4th Manila International Marathon. And I did it in 5 hours, 24 minutes. That is when I was a student. Actually, medicine also has spoiled me. Because of lack of time, I have not been able to run anymore. But I think the man saved me because I was hypertensive, I didn't know. And so the running also helped me a lot. I didn't know I was hypertensive until I was first year in medicine. In first year in medicine, we had some physiology experiments in the lab. And we were using ourselves as the guinea pigs. We were checking blood pressure with activity. This one will go and take his blood pressure, 110/60. This lady will take a blood pressure, some of them 100/60. My blood pressure was sitting at 140/90. But the running kept me going. The running kept me going. Because even though I didn't have time during the week, because medicine is a crazy thing. You spend so much time. But on Sunday, I will run almost 20 kilometers. It helped me. And yes, that is what, if God helped me, I want to do. My mom died 5 years ago. My father died 5 years ago. My mom died about 3 years ago. My father lived to 90 plus. My mom lived up to 90. But I count myself as a blessing that I'm still alive. Amen. Because the kind of work they were doing, we are not doing it. My mom was working so hard. Look, You know, during those days, they didn't have all those roads, these asphalt roads that they have. Sometimes in the wet season, let me tell you, I went to school close to his town. I went to school in Benin. And Kofiasi and Benin, it was a dirt road. Sometimes in the rainy season, what? They don't, the cars cannot pass. And what? Somebody will walk from Kofiasi to Mampong. I have walked from Benin to Mampong before. I was with my teacher, and my teacher was a little bit stingy. And we waited, there was no car coming, so he said, let's go until we find ourselves in Mampong. So the type of things they were doing, they were more athletic than we are. I would go, my dad was a farmer, and for the 5 days in a week, it was heavy work. He had a huge farm. I was afraid. My dad had more than 100 acres of cocoa farm. So I learned to also weed. We will go and clear this weeds in the cocoa farm. It's very laborious to work in the cocoa farm. You will weed, you will take the parasites, even the harvest is very difficult. And no wonder they lived longer. My dad, the interesting thing with my dad never attended a hospital. Never. And my mom was always on the go. He is selling this, he will go and get it. He's selling this, he will go and get it. Sometimes I'll go and meet him, especially when the rainy season, the cars cannot come. You have to go and carry it on our head. And so they made them fit compared to what we are today. I look at my job, I get up in the morning, I may go about 8 o'clock, seeing patients. What am I doing? I'm just sitting down. And it's important also that we also mention, as we said, we talked about sugar. Please avoid all those sweet beverages, the Coke and all the rest. Please avoid them. The juices. Let them eat the real fruits. The real fruits is the thing. Because remember, the manufacturer who is manufacturing it will want to make the juice nice. They put sugar in it to sell it. And the same way, if you go into the burgers and there's no oil coming around it to make it nice, would you buy it? No. So if you steal, it will still be healthy for you. I'm not saying that the Western diet is not. That's not what you were born with. Stick to the diet you know. As far as I'm concerned. French fries. And the chips. Please, let's avoid it. And if I would recommend anything, please, vegetarian diet. Amen. So we mentioned again, yes, male gender is more affected, and black people, we are affected, and Hispanic. Low level of exercise is very important. Do we take time to routinely have our exercise? At least they said 1 hour a day will be fine. 5 days in the week will be fine. Please find time to do it. And there is also a very important protein. They call it homocysteine. They said when you have it more in your blood, what happens? Your level of getting stroke is increased. Homocysteine is more noted in what? Meat. So if you eat too much meat, please note that you are increasing your level of homocysteine. And what helps to bring this homocysteine down? Vitamin B6 and B12. So let your children eat a lot of fruits rather than meat. Rather than meat. These are the warning signs, as we have mentioned. Face. So fast. So your face, fast, F is for face, A for your arm, and then what? S is for what? Your speech, the slurred speech. And T, time is of essence. Get the person to be seen as soon as possible. So you have trouble speaking, visual problems, your headache. The headache, as far as I'm concerned, during that time, I had a headache, but it was not very severe like migraine. I have had a migraine before, somewhere, it just went away. I haven't had it again. But the migraine I had was more than the headache I had before the stroke. And so you have any dizziness, sudden loss of, you are not able to balance your space, balance yourself, please get yourself to be seen as soon as possible. Learn the signs of stroke, as I put it there. Learn this, the FAST acronym. And so diagnosis, well, diagnosis, you have to leave it to the medical personnel, but you go there, they will take a lot of blood, they will do an ECG, chest X-ray, CT scan, MRI, and then they will try to monitor to find out what kind of problems you have. Okay, medical management. As I said, control of the blood pressure is very important. And so, well, if the blood pressure is high, we have thousands of medical, antihypertensive they will use on you. They have some they use for emergency. Those ones you don't need them if you don't need to know. And then your blood sugar level. Now, it's very important. If you have this problem and a concomitant diabetes, then your chances of survival is what? Very low. Because here we have also important is cholesterol. Now, I said have a family physician, because every year, whether you like or not, the best thing to do is to have one physical exam done, plus blood work. They need to know your blood pressure, they need to know your cholesterol, they need to know even your full blood count, because you want to know whether you are anemic or not, and cholesterol. Cholesterol means that the fat that has got into our blood. Now, there's so many things that are difficult to understand. The cholesterol, the body itself makes cholesterol itself. We need cholesterol, and the body can make cholesterol itself, because if you talk about estrogen, progesterone, and all those hormones, they are all, the basis that they are formed is from a cholesterol chain. And so the cholesterol is important, but we also don't need it. The cholesterol coming from outside, the body doesn't need it. So when the body gets extra cholesterol from your food you bring, what happens? It has to find out a way of what? Storing it. The body must find a place to store it. And the worst places they are storing, they store it around your heart, they store it in this one. And the worst places I don't like is what? In our arteries. Your artery is supposed to be open. But now if the cholesterol is being deposited inside your arteries, then what? It becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. Your blood pressure also goes up. And that is where your blood pressure and your cholesterol, your blood pressure goes up. Now, if it happens, if the position of the cholesterol and the vessel is to your heart, what happens? You are going to get what? Ischemia. Ischemia means lack of oxygen. And then when you're not getting enough oxygen to your heart, then you start heart problems. And sometimes you become blocked completely. So they have to go and put a stent to make hole in the heart for the blood to go through. You have to understand, the heart is the most unselfish. That is it. That is the most unselfish. If the heart was like all of us, life would be easy. The heart pumps blood to all the parts of the body, depends on the pumping of the heart. But when all the heart, the blood comes to the heart to be pumped, it doesn't eat until all the rest have eaten. So the pump blood that the blood that the heart will pump, then a small piece after the heart will go by an artery around to supply the heart. The blood that goes inside the heart does not use it until it pumps blood out that goes out, then it turns around to come and supply the heart. And those blood supplies, that is where your cholesterol will target. It targets the cholesterol there, and if the blood vessel becomes smaller and smaller and sometimes become close, you have myocardial infarction. So that is it. We have to be very careful. And so we have to be very careful. Okay. The other one we have to mention, as I said, is better, always good that you get to know whether you have a heart problem or not. And that is, it was important with atrial fibrillation. In fact, it's very difficult. I have been doing it every year. There was no time they told me I have an atrial fibrillation. Why? Did I develop it? I don't know. And I only got to know that I have atrial fibrillation when they put a monitor on me for 24 hours. And then I did show about 3 or 6 hours of atrial fibrillation. Now, as I said, the heart, it has a supply. The heart is supplied, and it must be in a regular sequence. Now, if this nerve supply to it is not working and it beats more harder and faster, there's a tendency you will throw a blood clot into the vessels. If the vessels land in your brain, you're going to get a stroke. And we did mention about the medication. The TPA is a very, very important medication for the treating of these acute strokes. But it cannot be used left and right. It will be determined in the emergency room that person is a candidate for the use of TPA or not. Why? Because it can cause also bleeding. But you have to be there in less than 4 hours before they can use it for you. And the important thing for us in Canada is that you don't have to pay for it. You know how much? It's just one ampule. When I was checking my textbook, you know the price of that ampule? $7,000. But they will not pass it to you. From my treatment and everything, they didn't give me a zero account. They didn't pass anything to me. All that I paid for was the ambulance that took me from the house. So please, it's important to make sure that you, whoever is affected or you suspect to have one, gets there in less than no time. And surgical treatment that is left to the hospital, as I said. In my case, what happened is that, after the CT scan, the neurosurgeon said that it was necessary to pass a wire and go and remove the clot. And they succeeded in doing it. It could have been worse because they told, so we had to sign. We have to sign for it, for the procedure, because, I mean, it's a chance, a 50-50 chance. If you are going in through, because this is the thrombus, and you're going to use the wire to go through, it goes through and goes through and must go through. And then at the end there, they have the technology. They will inflate the end here, and it becomes like an umbrella. And then they will pull the thrombus away. If they don't succeed in it, and it did not go through, then you imagine it broke it into 2 pieces. That is another problem. So it's not everybody who is a candidate, but the center will determine whether you are a candidate for it. And so that is what they do. And as I said, endovascular thrombectomy and removal of the clot under imaging. And so it is important, how are we going to do all these things? We have to moderate our lifestyle. Lifestyle is very important. Exercise. Please have some time. Just walking is good. You don't have to run so fast, but make it that you can have a regular exercise is very important. And other things that we have to remove from our system, smoking, I hope nobody smokes, or a friend close to you is not smoking. Smoking is a very big contributor. We know nicotine very much. Nicotine is what? A vasoconstrictor, one of the most potent vasoconstrictors. It will what? Shrink your blood vessels and can cause a lot of problems. And then what? Our diet. We have a the food we eat is very nice. And when I was small, I still kept this in my head. There was a very nice, well-groomed man in our village. He was in the village contest. He was rich, but he was not rich. And this man, when he comes and you are eating, and he sees you eating contaminated with apple with no palm oil, he will squeeze his face. And you know what he will say? Okay, what did he eats with his nose. That means that if his soup is not really smelling good, that is not good. We should stop that we are eating with our nose. That is wrong. Our contamination should not be boiled to the extent that it's just nothing. And the same way, the cabbage we are eating like the goats, that is the right thing. We don't have to go and boil it until that is almost nothing. Don't eat with your nose. Don't go, the soup is smelling so good, so it is good. And one important thing we have to mention is our salt use. We actually by nature were not sugar users, but salt, I have to confess, we eat a lot of salt. We eat a lot of salt. And so let's try our best that salt should be used very moderately. Because if we use salt moderately, we are also trying to control blood pressure. And so our diet is nothing wrong with it. Only we have to learn to eat more fruits and vegetables and nuts. Oh my goodness. The village, my father's farm, there is plenty of banana. We don't say, if you go and take somebody's banana in somebody's farm, you have not stolen. If you go and take oranges in somebody's farm, you have not stolen. But if you go and take one plantain, you are in trouble. We don't like to eat fruits. Oranges, bananas, pineapples, we don't want to eat them. And all the other fruits, please, is very, very important. The fruits are very important, especially even in controlling even cancers. Let's try our best, and especially on the diet. And then you mentioned it, weight control. Talk with your doctor about how you can control your weight. Weight control does not mean you have to starve yourself to death. No. They are only you have to look at what you're eating, and if you can make what modification to help you with that. And alcohol consumption. There are some of us, even though we are 7-day Adventists, we feel that in the evening we must take something so that we can sleep. Yes, we call ourselves Adventists, but we feel that that is not important. Alcohol, if you go to the WHO website, before they will tell you, oh, a little bit of alcohol, one thought or wine is helpful with heart disease. That is not true. Go there and see. You need 0 alcohol in your system. It is not true. Any doctor who tells you that, oh, you need to drink some alcohol to control heart disease, I won't go to him. I won't go to him. You don't need alcohol in your system. And important, as they have mentioned it here, Dr. Amwa talked about it, and Dr. Bonnie talked to it about it. Anyway, it's very interesting. I knew Pastor Amwa's, Pastor Amwa's grandfather, and Ebobani, Pastor Ebobani's son. In fact, I was in S1 when they got married. They got married in the school church. I was there. I know them very well. It is important that we get to know that stress management. Stress. Please, between two couples, work it out in such a way that it will be 0 stress in your life. Because the stress is important in your blood pressure control. There are patients who will come, you will give them any medication. You will hit them with any antihypertensive medication. It doesn't go down. What we do, we give them some sedative, hit them with a sedative to let them sleep soundly, and before the blood pressure comes up, which knows that there is stress involved. So stress is very important. We don't need it in our lives. Yes, blood pressure control is very important. The usual, they will tell you, is 120 to 80. It's not all that correct. It's not true. As we grow old, actually our blood pressure goes up. So right now, your doctor will determine which will be your blood pressure. And there are some people, even the 120/80 is very, very high for them. There are people by nature, 100/60, they are very comfortable. So that's why it's important that you work with your doctor. It's very important. And diabetes. If you have diabetes, do your best to get it under control. But I feel that if you stay on our Ghanaian diet, you can be free from diabetes. We don't have so much sugar, but let's try our best. Sugar, exercise, and all those things will help a great deal. Well, these are all surgeries that can be done in the hospital. I don't want to bother with yourself with, especially when the carotid, there is a big vein here, a big vessel here, carotid artery is blocked. Sometimes you go in to replace it with another vessel to help you to get more blood into your brain. This is a more hospital procedure, so I wouldn't trouble you with that one. As I said, we did prepare also for, we prepared for breast cancer, but I think it will be too long for us to go on. But the most important thing is, there are few things we want to review here, is our diet. Our diet of salt, okay, I've been flagged that is time. But I will quickly go over this one. Our diet of salt, we have to take care of. And then also sugar. Try your best. If you are diabetic, try and control it. And if you are not diabetic, don't push yourself into diabetes. You can push yourself into diabetes if you dwell on it's very hot now. You are out there, everybody is drinking Coke and drinking all the juices. Please try to avoid them. They will push you into diabetes. And it's important that we also control our temperament. The blood pressure, the stress that we have in our life tend to raise our blood pressure, which we should try to avoid. And the most important thing that we should talk and stress about is our new start. New start, our nutrition is very important. More fruits, grains and vegetables and nuts. Rather than meat, I will recommend vegetarianism for everybody. Because in vegetarianism, you avoid all the high cholesterol that we put on our body. And exercise, make it as a routine. Drinking plenty of water during the day, especially in this hot time, is also very important. Yes, New Start will recommend also our temperament we have mentioned, sunlight, and then fresh air. There's also one thing also I noted, and I wish I have money to do it. I noted that the people in our villages live longer than those in the city. Am I wrong or right? Is it correct? My dad contemporates, you were in the village, and those people that he used to, when they were young, he said they used to have a nobwa. Those people, some of them, when they grew up, what happened? They moved to Kumasi, and then they have shops. This man was selling cooking utensils and everything. This man died over 20 years ago. And I knew him very much. When we saw him, and he has also been a steward as a chief, he was like this. They all died. In fact, my father's contemporaries, they died more than 20 years ago. So it's important that we note that city life, we must be very careful. The city life, if you can, it's also good for you. If you can also have, you can have life in the countryside. It's very important. Living in all the city, pollution on all this is important. And we didn't mention in our foods, there are some chemicals that are being used left and right. These are all contributing to some of our blood pressure. You go to the farms in the gardens, it's a lot of sprays they are using on the garden. Try as much as possible, wash your fruits, your vegetables very well to get rid of some of them. And there is nothing that I can leave without mentioning. I don't want to forget this. It is a trust in divine power. Amen. It is by God's grace that I'm living now. And that is where, it becomes important to me. When it comes to the Sabbath, come all ye that labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. Stop everything that you are doing. Concentrate your relationship with God. And what? Relax. Relax. Yes. He said, bring all your burdens on him. And that is what we have to do. And it's also important. Even though I didn't have much time, but it's very, very important that we take note. That number one, that I will take home today is number one. We talk about fast, the face, the speech, and and then what? Your time is very important. You see anybody with this kind of symptoms, don't waste time. And the second one that you have to do, I want everybody to have a close, an intimate, a close relation with his family doctor. You need to get your blood pressure checked every day. That is the only way you know you have a blood pressure. And treat it and take it seriously. It's important to work with your blood pressure because there are many blood pressure medications. Some of them, it may not be good for you. So if he gives you the tablet, you take it, you're not feeling well, go back to him and say, hey, doctor, this blood pressure tablet is not good for me. I have the same problem. I went through all the blood pressure medications. There was only one that could help me. You call it calcium channel blocker. The ACE inhibitors, by our literature, that is the best. When I take the ACE inhibitor, what happened? I feel like choking and coughing. So you have to go to your doctor and tell him. I can only take the calcium channel blocker, but the calcium channel blocker also comes with its own problem. When you take the calcium channel blocker after some time, what happened? We went to Ghana last year, and we went first to Ghana, and then we flew to South Africa. We stayed there for some time. Now, while I was there, I was taking my calcium channel blocker. What is it? Felodipine. Now, I noted my legs were swelling, and that is a side effect of the calcium channel blocker. So what did I do? I decided to quit. So I stopped taking the calcium channel blocker. So what I was doing is every day I have to make sure I make 5 to 10 kilometers every day. And it was working. So every day I have to work. And it was working. But when we came from South Africa in November, then we came and hit the snow. Now I did not walk as I was doing for 1 month. And I was hit with a stroke. So you have to work with your doctor. There are many thousands of antihypertensives, but some may be good for you, some may not be good for you. You work it out with your doctor. It's very important. So note that very carefully. So that's why I said have a family doctor that you can interact all the time. That is your work. That is our job. So take note of that very carefully. And as I said, we always debate and we always laugh at ourselves. Why is it that the black person has blood pressure? All black people have blood pressure. Why? Anybody to help me? Why is it that we have blood pressure all the time? I have a lady from Trinidad and Tobago. We were good friends, Pastor Chapman's wife. He said, black people have so many problems. Yes, we have problems, but let's work it. As we said, Pastor Amwa talked about stress. Pastor Bonnie talked about stress. We are stressful. Please don't let the sun go down when you have a problem with your friend. Because what happens? When you are stressed, what happens? There is an important chemical in your body that is released, adrenaline. Adrenaline constricts your blood vessels and becomes smaller. And if they are allowed to stay in your body for a long time, what happens? It's disastrous. Your blood pressure is over the roof. And that is why we advise that you what? Exercise. When you exercise, have you noticed after exercising, You sweat, you feel good. You feel good. But please, among ourselves, let's not hide grudges among ourselves. Settle them. Settle them. That is the only way that we can live a healthy, a happy, and a holy life. May the Lord bless you. If you have any questions, He will allow us. Yes. Yes.
Cholesterol, so what is going to exercise soon to make it come down? Maybe because if you are not said, and I say, my life, my time. If you want to make you see other things like exercise, I'm alone, so active.
Okay. Yes, you can do that, but at certain situations you cannot do that. In my case, I don't have any cholesterol problem. In fact, all the cholesterol tests they took, my cholesterol was down. But they gave me atorvastatin, which is a cholesterol busting drug, because it's what? It is anti-arrhythmic. It helps you with atrial fibrillation. So they put me on for some time. So sometimes you can use exercise to control your cholesterol, that is true. But if you're doing that, make sure that at least every year have your cholesterol checked.
All medication is one. We live in lifetime. The Bible says, you are so doing exercise. All medication is one. The matter said, lifetime.
Not all. Not all. But some people, if you have a heart, yes, a heart problem, it may be for lifetime. Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. My husband said I missed a lot of your presentation. I was with the kids. Yeah, and a very important part. Oh, okay. Sorry. I said my husband said I missed a lot of your presentation. It was very important. As a healthcare worker, there are a few things, I'm sorry if I missed if you said that. We need to know our bodies. And when we don't feel right, we need to check it out. You made a very important point. Talk to your doctor. Don't be afraid of your doctor. If they prescribe something for you, they have to tell you why and explain everything. Another thing, I always admonish people with a second language. I know we don't like to tell people our business, but please get an advocate. Like you were able to, my husband said, you were able to arrange for your admission. You may not understand half of what the healthcare professional is saying to you, and you leave and you say, yes, and you don't know. You haven't asked the right questions. So please, find somebody you can trust. It can save your life. And have them. I've gone to doctors with people, but chemotherapy, different things, because I want everything to be explained to that individual. So when they leave, they know they have all the information they need. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's very
Thank you so much, Doctor. One of the things that I want to bring up and I would like you to speak to is the saying that is ghost. I have come to the conclusion that, in fact, as a pastor, I don't say that anymore. When somebody passes away and I go and work with the family, I don't say, maybe that's ghost. Because our lifestyle and most of the things that we do can shorten our lifestyle. And sometimes we also have medical error. And then the person will pass on and will say, oh, Nyame time now. I've come to the conclusion that we need to be careful when we say that. Yes. I don't know what your reflection on.
I agree to that. You see, it's lack of knowledge of my people perish. I have gone home. My classmate, Anani, I have to mention his name. He's late now. Anani had a hernia, and I saw him. Please, I'm going to pay for it. There is nothing that nobody can treat it. Don't go to any Binsini and let him give you any herbs on it. It has to be repaired. He said, I'm afraid. I will pay for it. What happened? The next time, what happened? Hernia is a strangulation of the internal organ. So what happened is that it came down, and you imagine if your intestine has gone through this hole and is squeezing it, what happened? This one is not getting blood supply anymore. You die. He died. The same thing happened. There's a lady in my village. Her name was Kole. Kole was a beautiful lady. I knew her when I was small, and I saw him with a big culture. Hey, what are you doing? And I told him, please, I am going to pay for it. Let's go to the hospital and remove it. There is nobody. Let nobody deceive you. Nothing. The next time they called me, I should give him 2 million. Some Yunsini will give him medication for it. What is it? I told you that there's nothing that is going to change this situation. You need to be worked out, controlled, and the thyroid removed. He said no. And I said, no, I'm not going to waste my 2 million on that thyroid. And what happened? She died. So lack of knowledge also, my people are dying. That is sad. That is sad. I told you about my grandmother who was having anemia, and it's what? A gluttony. And then they will let him say so many things that are not true. You will say, oh, I wanted to kill you for Christmas. And they believed him. They believed that. And what happened? I said, please, I don't want to hear anything. Take her to the hospital. And he was anemic. And he started him with the antihypertensive. He's fine. So, lack of knowledge, my people are dying. Let's not say it. And it is sad. Here, I hope everybody has. You should be at least see your physician, whether you are sick or not. Remember that. Whether you are sick or not, your blood pressure has to be checked. Your blood pressure has to be checked. You have to we check cholesterol, we check your high blood pressure. If you are 40, we check your prostate, we check. Everything has to be checked at least 1 year. Because you never know what we have missed. It can be an error, maybe, in the distance, and if you have an advocate, as he said, the physician should not get annoyed. I do it. Those of my patients, if I'm not there, and he went to see one doctor and he gave me a different medication, sometimes we talk, and they take it in good heart. You see, as I said, Black people generally, high blood pressure, they do well on the calcium channel blockers. Now, it may happen that he went to the doctor, the person said he doesn't have medication. So he may have some samples of ACE inhibitor. ACE inhibitor is the #1 drug for controlling blood pressure. And it was not going. And then he comes back to me. So what happened? I discussed with him. We change it to the calcium channel blocker. The doctor will listen to it with a good heart. So it's good, yes, that you have also a good advocate.
All right, Brother Jonathan or Joshua, and then Brother Sam. When we come back from a lunch, we do 15 minutes. I'll chat one.
Okay.
You could do Brother Sam, Brother Joshua. You please bring your questions. In your sorry, now you're two closing song now. You're going to pause, go in, come back, and then ask Dr. Nyame the remaining 2 questions. So we're thinking number 294, just the first one, and then we ask Elder Jibri to give us a closing prayer. Then you're sorry, now you be him no, now you told him number 249. You're cautious, me no account, you be said Dr. Nyame now on the NAB. Him number 249, the great physician, who dear for Casino Abe. And him 254, him 254, the great physician. We are not the Jibril Paiman. Oh, do ya
Jesu, Okasama, Kumatonye, Odofotie, Jesu, Joma, Yedemosro, Dia, Yedemoma, Enititu, Awatope, Jesu, Shira, for Jesu.
Nti odiyifoɔ kɛseɛ wura Yesu wɔabɔɔ no asangyeyɛ ɛyɛ aseda na ɛyɛ nkamfo na ɛde ma wɔ sɛ wo sɛ wakɔ Nyame ho na ogye ne nti ɛnnɛ wɔbɛma yɛ nimdeɛ bebree ɛyɛ ne nkamfo nka ɔden ɔma bebree ne yɛate ne nnɛ o mu ahoɔden yɛ bi yɛserɛ ma yɛ mu ahoɔden na yɛti yɛmfa nyɛ adwuma ɛnyɛ ahoɔden fa nyɛ wɔ adwuma na wopia yɛboa mo ɛda wase sɛ wɔyɛ ne saa ma ɛwɔ adom nti amen.
So we'll come back at 1:30, about 1:30, I'll be back. 1:30 till let's try.